Howdy, folks. It's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, back again with another presentation for the Dwarven Vault. Here again with a review, and one that I think is pretty interesting because it involves, well, one of us, a dwarf. Now, not your typical dwarf. This is kind of a evil thief dwarf in the old school way of thieves, not the newer 5e stuff, but this is old AD&D. But a great character and some interesting events, both epic successes and epic fails. So I'll turn you over to our reviewer without further ado. And don't forget, if you like this, to make sure and hit the like button, subscribe, and tell your friends. Talk to you afterwards. Take care, everyone. Hello, everybody. It's Red Hornhelm here again, and I've got a review today. As Riffraff said, we've got a dwarf, which is pretty cool. Although this is a different dwarf, of course. This dwarf is called Gnork, or Gnork. I don't know if the G is supposed to be silent or not. And he's an 11th level thief from regular 1st edition AD&D, which I like. And he is more on the evil side, okay? He's not a good person. He tends to be mean and surly, and he dresses all in black, and he has a cloak that covers himself up. He carries a bunch of daggers and hatchets, and, you know, he's a thief, so he kind of looks the part, except he's a dwarf. Now, he also has a portable hole, which, of course, is one of his great and handiest devices, as he says. And this is brought to us by George, who's out of Cleveland, Ohio, in the United States. And it's an interesting character. He's supposed to be very mean and surly, so he can't be too much fun to be around. And I'm sure he gets used in his adventuring groups because of his skills rather than his personality. Or maybe they just like to pick on him, or he likes to pick on them, so to speak. Ha ha, ho ho. So, what is Gnork like and done and so forth? Well, we talked about the mean and surly part, but of course we also have some epic successes and, of course, an epic failure. So, let's talk about his epic success. He was with a group that went in to negotiate with the local highest noble, a duke, as it says in the email, Duke Pollywhistle. What a great name. And Duke Pollywhistle was negotiating with them to perform some services as an adventuring group. And this duke was known for being wealthy and having some very high-end, very coveted magical treasures. Two of the items were a pair of magical daggers, and then there were 3 rings that were a set. So, while this negotiation was going on, our good friend Gnork here, or Gnork, took that opportunity to slip to the back of the party and to drink a potion of invisibility and do a little bit of exploring. Whereupon, he found where the Duke's treasures were kept. And in an amazing sequence of rolls, he said it was more than a dozen rolls total. He rolled absolute best you could, and managed to not only find the treasure, but to find and see the traps and disarm the traps and find the locks and pick the locks and get the items without disturbing the traps or setting off any alarms, kind of like Indiana Jones in Dwarven form. So he was very, very successful in avoiding all of that and grabbing the treasure, which of course he promptly put inside of his portable hole, and still under the auspices of his invisibility potion, took off. Now, his group was left negotiating with the Duke, and those negotiations were technically successful until the Duke found out that his stuff was missing, and of course blamed the party for what happened. Now, they didn't know what had happened, but they were the only ones there that could have helped facilitate this while it happened. And then, of course, they noticed that their comrade was gone afterwards, but it was too late. Duke Pollywhistle threw them all in the dungeon, and our good friend here, Gnork, disappeared, lived happily ever. Well, we got to get through the failure first. But at the end of the day, he lived happily for a while, with the ill-gotten gains from the treasure he had managed to steal out from under the noses of both the Duke and his guards and all his magical traps and security precautions, at the same time getting away from his party who took the fall for him. So, given that he was a evil thief, you got to say that on an epic success scale, that's pretty good. That's played it the way it's supposed to be played. And when we looked at it throughout the group and everything, we came to the conclusion that, of course, this wasn't world-shattering or anything, but it was pretty darn good. So we gave it an 8. Of course, whenever you have something like this happen, there's also an epic fail. Okay, so that happened too. In that case, he got caught trying to steal from an extremely powerful wizard who used magic to turn him to stone and then shrink him. And then on weekends he would paint him, like people who do gaming paint miniatures, kind of like that, except it was bigger than that. After it was painted, he took it to a souvenir shop in another one of the multiverses adjoining the land where he actually lived, and he sold it and said, "Here, you can sell this here, it's cute." And as a result, that little painted, petrified statue of Gnork now sits inside of a souvenir shop somewhere in the southwest of the United States, as I understand it from the email. And I kind of believe the story, because about 3 years ago, we were driving through that part of the world, and we stopped at one of these gas stations that had the what do they call it, a curio shop next door. And we went in there, and I could have sworn I saw that. Now, I thought it was demeaning, and had I bought it, I would have wanted to destroy it, because who wants to see, dwarves being demeaned that way? Elves, that's okay, but dwarves, no thank you. But I just left it and said, whatever. So I'm not sure, but I think I did. So, based on this fail, we came together and talked about it, and our Hornhelm brethren agreed that this was also an 8. It's pretty nasty, really, because he's not dead, but he's not alive either. He can't do anything. That's kind of a neat torture trick when I think about it. So I appreciate the artistry of what was done there. So very nice. And so, like I said, when we looked at it all, we decided that was an 8 as well. So 8 for the epic success, 8 for the epic fail. And overall, what did we think of him? Well, we thought he was kind of cool, dangerous, and would bear a lot of watching, but kind of cool. So overall, we left that as an 8 as well, giving him a grand total of 24, which is a very respectable score. Now, last but not least, Red, would you have him in your party? Well, depends on what we're doing. Maybe. Certainly would bear some very close watching. Now, would I give a little bit more because he's a dwarf? Yeah, but I'm not sure that makes a difference to him when it comes to picking out victims. So, not sure. Up to you. George, thank you for sending us this character. It was a lot of fun to review him. I hope you enjoyed. Everyone else out there, I hope you also enjoyed. Give us a like if you did. Give us a subscription would be nice. We like those. Comments. We'll see you again real soon. Remember, I'm Red Hornhelm. You're not. So, Gnork was a pretty interesting character, wouldn't you say? I thought so. I really appreciate having this sent in to us, and we really enjoyed doing this review, being dwarves and all. As a dwarf, he was pretty cool as far as I'm concerned. And we'll have more reviews like this coming in the future. Don't forget the reviews, the fail tales, the interviews. Come back and see us again real soon. And remember, dwarves rock!